What's going on, everybody? It's Graham. Welcome back to the channel, and I'm back with another video. And today, I kind of wanted to talk about something that crossed my path on the internet and made me have memories of the video I did of the PSAs that we had in the 80s. And one of them was about kids walking to school by themselves. We all did it. We all have great stories about it. And now that we're older and we have kids, kind of where do we stand on that? So saw this come across, did verify, make sure it was real, and then wanted to share this story with you. So take a listen, and then let's talk about it. So and go on over here and press play.
All right, this really draws a lot of emotion around this one issue because people have very different feelings about it. A Georgia mom is facing 1 year in jail for crime of letting her 10-year-old son walk less than a mile into town on his own. So those are the facts. Police picked up and dropped off Brittany Patterson's son and then came back 5 hours later to arrest Brittany Patterson that same day.
Turn around for me.
Why?
Because you're under arrest.
For what?
For the incident we talked about earlier today.
What am I under arrest for?
For reckless endangerment.
And how was I recklessly endangering my child?
We're not talking about it.
Authorities say they believe Patterson's son was in danger and charged her with reckless conduct. And now they're offering to drop that charge if she signs a safety plan, which involves the use of a GPS tracker on her son's phone. Patterson refused to do that, arguing there's nothing unsafe about the mile walk into town or her parenting decisions. She's currently out on bail and faces up to 1 year in jail. The best free legal advice I get every day is from Emily. Well, she should charge me, by the way.
So there you go. What do you think about that? Again, as a kid that grew up in the 80s, 70s and 80s, we walked to school all the time. We walked to town all the time, or we rode our bikes, of course. And so it's not something that you really hear about too much or really see too much. Now, honestly, I do see kids that walk to school. Sometimes, it's older kids, probably junior high, high school, that are walking to school, and they walk quite a ways sometimes, considering I see where they're walking from when I'm driving by in my car, and I know where the school's at. And then you see some younger kids walking home from school. Back in the day, that was commonplace. We did it all the time. And now, and this lady's not even a Gen X. She's a millennial, an older millennial, because she's in her, I think they said she was 41 or something like that. So the story shows that she lives in this small town. I think they said of about 370 people, or less than 400. And yeah, she's 41 years old and arrested on suspicion of reckless conduct over her son's unsupervised walk. I kind of find that funny because imagine how many parents would have gotten arrested in 1984, 1985, 86, whatever. Because, dude, we were everywhere, right? It's so I look at it and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is so crazy. The kid was, I believe, 10 at the time and was going to turn 11. That seems a little young, but then again, I go back to when I was a kid and think about I was 8 or 9 running around with my friend on bikes through town. And as they say, come home when the street lights turn on. Make sure you're home by that time. So I know we can go, we can debate it a little bit and then say, well, times are different. Times are changing. I was talking to my wife about it. And it's just one of those things where I don't know, I'm a parent, and then I think to myself, did I allow that with my kids? And I think with my oldest, because he was my first kid, if I'm going to be honest, because he was my first kid, I was probably more of a helicopter parent, just because I was a new parent, not because I was just like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to allow what my mom and the way they raised us, I'm not going to let them do. I'm not going to do the same thing. Then by the time I had my second kid, it was my girl, my daughter. And, kind of the same things. We didn't live in an area where there was a lot of kids that lived in the neighborhood. So she didn't have to really go anywhere. And then I get to Roth, who, now that he's 15, he's got a lot of freedoms. He goes with his friends. That's why he's not over here every other weekend, because he's got a lot of parties to go to, and I encourage that. Whether it's I want to think they're doing good or bad things. He needs to be a 15-year-old and enjoy his life as a teenager before he starts the workforce and becomes an adult. So I don't want to say I'm on the fence. I don't think this lady did anything wrong. I don't see any problem with it. I will say, would I have done that? Based on the way that I've raised my 3 kids, I probably wouldn't have. But again, she lives in a town that's under 400 people, and it was commonplace for us to go miles away. I mean, when I would ride our bikes to the mall from where I lived in our neighborhood, it was a long way away, and we never worried about it. So it's real easy to sit and say, well, times are different. Well, they really are in a lot of ways. So if you think about it, bad people were around in the 80s, right? You had kids being kidnapped. You had kids being abducted, which is why they had the PSAs about not taking candy from strange people in a car. You had the missing kids on the back of milk cartons because they were being abducted. No different than today. Then we can go back to, well, our parents just didn't give a shit, and they were off doing their own thing. Quite a few of them were, I'm sure. Or it could just come down to, my mom trusted us. My mom was around. She was there. I had my mom there, but she was off on weekends, and she would be at the house, and, she would allow me and my friends to go out and play. And again, it would be like, come back before dark. That was it. Were bad people lurking around? Yeah, I never had an experience like that, but obviously it was. That's literally no different than it is today. But on the flip side, is it heightened today? Is there more of it today? I don't know. Maybe it's the same, but we hear about it more, because back in the 80s, all we had was the newspaper and Walter Cronkite, right? So we didn't have 24-hour media news. We didn't have apps on. We didn't have cell phones. They didn't exist. We didn't have apps to alert us all the time. But that's the one positive I would say today, and that is we have most of these kids, if you're 8 or 9, I didn't get my kids a cell phone until they hit junior high. Or middle school, I think is how some people say it. And then I didn't even get them smartphones. I got them flip phones until they got into high school, and then they were allowed to get a smartphone. But all of these kids, 8, 9, even the youngest ones, when you go to a restaurant, unfortunately, you see a 3-year-old sitting in a high chair and knows how to work an iPad, right? So these kids understand electronics. They understand cell phones, and they understand the apps that go on those phones. You have that, Friend Finder. You have that other one that Roth and his mom have on the phone where they can see where each other's at all the time. So we have all of these things. So if there was a creeper and, these kids can record it, they can call 911 from their pocket. And so I think there's a lot more obvious safety nowadays, but than we had back in the day because of the electronics that we have. So I don't know. So did this kid have a phone? I don't know, but I do think it's crazy, and it's unfortunate that this lady was arrested and now is going to have to spend money on an attorney and all of these legal fees to fight to not be thrown in jail because some bureaucrats or law enforcement thinks that they're a better parent and they know how to parent. So what do you think? I just wanted to make this video because she's not even a Gen X, guys, but that is an absolute Gen X thing that we live through. And every day, Monday through Friday on our way to school, and then Saturday and Sundays on the weekends. So it was completely normal to us. And again, I do not think it's any different today than it was then. We just know about it sooner, and we know about it faster now than we did back then. Same bad shit still goes down, but it's just now we know about it. However, I do believe that our kids are a lot more protected. And so if you're new here, I do like to throw up some comments from previous videos. And I wanted to throw up this one, and it's kind of along the same subject. James, he commented on the video of the Gen X, how messed up was our childhood with the PSAs. And he says a solo 1.5 mile walk to 80s ghetto adjacent largest Chicago public school. Almost no issues with that. Nobody vanished. So there you go. I mean, a lot of comments that I had on that are very similar in the sense that the only stuff that happened to them when they walked to school was they would get bullied by older kids and they'd steal their lunch money, smack them around a little bit, but it wasn't anything about somebody picking them up and abducting them on their way to school. Again, I walked to school a lot, and when I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska for a while, walking to my school from our house, it was a good little walk across a major road, up a hill, and our school was way up on top, so it was at least a mile away. And I loved doing it, and I walked by myself a lot. And I think that was third or fourth grade. I think at fourth grade, right? So way younger than this kid. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think it's wrong? Do you think the cops did a good job? You think it's right? It's justified? Or do you think it's total bullshit like I do? Drop a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, if you've stuck around to this point of the video, I thank you. Hopefully you can like this video. You can subscribe to the channel, share this video, share the channel. And with that said, I appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next video.